He said I was too emotional right when I was on my knees begging him to save my mom. He didn't save her. Instead, he went to kiss his first love, leaving me to kneel alone in the rain all night. That night, my mom died, but he didn't know. I had already recorded everything. They once dragged me through hell. This time, it was my turn to write the ending myself. I finished my checkup alone at the hospital. The doctor said, "For your condition, it's best if your husband comes with you." I replied, "He's busy with something." What could be more important than your own wife and child, especially with a problem like this with the baby? The doctor muttered under their breath. I had nothing to say. Ethan always said he was busy with work and told me not to bother him, to avoid annoying him. During the 3 years of our marriage, I handled all sorts of life problems on my own. I never troubled him, but thinking about it now, it feels ridiculous. What part of our relationship resembled a marriage at all? By the time all the examinations were done, it was already 6 in the evening. It was rush hour, and I couldn't get a cab, so I had to sit on a bench and wait. I waited and waited, but no car accepted the ride. With a last shred of hope, I called Ethan. The call connected quickly, but before I could even speak, he started grilling me. "It's almost dark. Why aren't you home yet? You're pregnant, running around everywhere." I calmly replied, "I'm at the hospital. Just finished my prenatal checkup." Silence fell on the other end. Clearly, he had forgotten it was the day of my prenatal checkup. Just then, an empty car drove by. I was about to hang up when I heard Ethan say, "I'm coming to pick you up now. Don't wander off." Before I could refuse, he hung up, so I stayed put and continued to wait, but 2 hours passed, and he still didn't show up. I opened my phone and scrolled through Chloe's social media post. Holy cow. Almost blew up the kitchen. Good thing my buddy helped me sort it out. Can't wait to taste his cooking later. The accompanying photo showed Chloe intimately wrapping her arm around Ethan, who was wearing an apron and cooking. My gaze landed on Ethan's cheek, where a distinct lipstick mark was visible. Chloe always claimed she treated Ethan like a buddy, then proceeded to act with no sense of boundaries, constantly getting close to him. Ethan enjoyed every minute of it. Meanwhile, if I just asked him to make me a bowl of porridge when I had a fever, H complained, saying men shouldn't be in the kitchen. Yet now he willingly tied an apron for his buddy. In the comments, his friends were teasing them about how close they were, praising Ethan as a perfect guy. Chloe triumphantly commented, "Of course, guess who trained him?" I quietly unfriended Chloe. I waited until 8 in the evening, and no car came, so I had to walk for half an hour to the bus stop. Every step I took, my lower back ached terribly. I held my back, my face pale. Passersby on the bus quickly offered me a seat and asked if I needed help calling a doctor. I shook my head, and they offered me a bottle of water. By the time I got home, it was already 10:30. As soon as I entered, I saw Ethan sitting in the living room, looking visibly annoyed. "So you decided to come home." I felt exhausted, so I casually put down my bag. "If you couldn't make it, you could have just told me." He choked on his words, and after a long pause, he finally spoke. "I had an urgent matter at the office. Couldn't you have just taken a cab yourself?" "So dramatic," I asked. "Were you at the office helping someone cook?" Ethan paused for a few seconds, then scoffed. "Grace, will you ever get over your jealousy? Chloe and I have been good friends since college. What's wrong with helping out a little?" He just casually brushed it off as if it were perfectly normal. If it were before, I would have definitely argued with him, but now, I didn't care anymore. I nodded indifferently. "I won't concern myself with you and your buddy anymore." After saying that, I turned and went back to my room, leaving him standing there alone. After I got pregnant, Ethan said he was afraid of disturbing my rest, so he started sleeping in a separate room. In reality, he just wanted to video chat with Chloe. Before, I always found excuses to make him stay with me in the living room, but today, I ignored him and went straight back to my room to lie down. I contacted a doctor friend I knew and sent them today's test results. Their reply was immediate. "Have you been hospitalized? You need to be hospitalized immediately. The baby's condition isn't good, according to your report. Long-term hospitalization for observation is best." I asked if the baby would have any illnesses after being born, and their chat box kept showing typing. It dawned on me. At that moment, I even felt a sense of relief. I chatted with my friend for a few more minutes, finally telling them I planned to terminate the pregnancy while the baby was still small. I didn't want it to come into this world only to suffer. Just as I hung up, Ethan walked in. He looked at me suspiciously and asked, Who were you on the phone with? I didn't bother with him. Text message to my lawyer, asking him to draft a divorce agreement for me, Ethan. After some hesitation said, don't you want to talk today? No, I'm tired today. I didn't know why he suddenly came to find me, but I was terribly exhausted and didn't want to say anything to him. Ethan stood at the doorway, his expression constantly changing. Finally, he slammed the door shut. Fine, don't talk then. Ethan was always like this, playing hot and cold. At first, I didn't understand why he was so inconsistent with me, until one time, I overheard him talking to Chloe. I understand women's petty thoughts too well. You can't be too nice to them, or they'll treat you like a doormat. Then they burst into laughter, and Chloe practically fell into his arms. He put his arm around her and said, aren't you a woman too? Should I not be too nice to you either? Get lost. I'm your buddy. If you dare treat me like that, I'll beat you up. Chloe wrapped her arms around his neck, their posture intimate. At the time, I thought it was just a joke, that Ethan wouldn't take it seriously, but I forgot, he always listened to Chloe. The next day, I texted Ethan. I arranged to meet him at the cafe to discuss the divorce. I had finished my second slice of cake before he finally showed up late. With Chloe, my gaze fell on Chloe's hand clasped in his. Chloe didn't let go. Instead, she tightened her grip and blurted out casually, Grace, sorry we're late. It's all this jerk's fault. I heard he made you angry yesterday. He specifically brought you a peace offering. As she spoke, she pushed Ethan to the left side of the booth and squeezed in next to him. I coldly watched Ethan dutifully pour her water and order her favorite dessert. Chloe glanced at me and reached out to put her arm around Ethan's shoulder. Ethan, what's wrong with you? Order something for Grace too. He looked up at me. Just as he was about to speak, I cut him off. No need, I'm full. Ethan paused, seemingly surprised by my coldness, but he immediately placed a small decorative charm on the table. It's for you. I remember you like jade. He had a smug look, as if he expected me to be touched and surprised. I picked up the small decorative charm and glanced at the exquisite bracelet on Chloe's wrist, scoffing inwardly. This small decorative charm was just a pendant for that bracelet. In short, it was a freebie. I said nonchalantly, no need. I have plenty of cheap things like this. The atmosphere instantly became tense. Ethan was the first to scowl. Grace, what do you mean? I calmly picked up my milk. Exactly what it sounds like. You give her the bracelet and give me the freebie. You're quite the schemer, aren't you? Ethan didn't expect me to expose him on the spot and was momentarily embarrassed. Chloe, however, immediately said, Grace, don't be angry. Ethan gave me this bracelet as a thank you for helping him. If you're unhappy, I can give it to you. I told him before that I don't like things like this. I'd rather have a game console. She said this, but her hand remained still. Ethan, however, spoke first. Don't mind her, she's just like that, petty and jealous, always getting upset. He can give you whatever he wants, but I hope this doesn't affect me settling our assets with him. I coldly cut him off. Ethan froze and retorted, what do you mean? I pushed the file folder toward him. Ethan, let's get a divorce. Ethan's face changed drastically. He stared intently at me. What game are you playing now? I didn't reply. Chloe spoke up from the side. Grace, is there some misunderstanding? She clutched Ethan's arm. If did something wrong. Chloe hadn't finished speaking when Ethan abruptly pulled his arm away. He turned to Chloe and said, you go home first. I need to talk to her. Chloe looked at him in shock. This was the first time Ethan had given her a cold shoulder, but remained expressionless. Finally, she bit her lip and stormed off. As soon as Chloe left, Ethan's tone immediately softened. You want to divorce me? Are you serious? What about the baby? I didn't speak, even though I had no love for Ethan left, but thinking of the baby in my belly, malformed and potentially having a genetic disorder, still brought me pain. It could have grown up healthy, but the doctor's examination showed advanced maternal age, chronic depression, and prenatal malnutrition had caused the baby to be malformed. At that moment, I regretted loving Ethan so much, loving him so much that I didn't even take care of my own body. He always said he was too busy with work to care for the family, so I repeatedly endured it. Every time he gave me the silent treatment, I would just quietly put up with it, to wait for him to come home for dinner. I never ate on time, but now he was using the child I was about to lose as a bargaining chip to threaten me. I finished the last bit of milk. Ethan, I know you don't like me. An early divorce would be better for both of us. Ethan slammed the file folder onto the table. Who says I don't? His phone rang abruptly. I glanced at it. It was Chloe, who had just left, calling. Ethan hesitated for a second, then answered the call. I don't know what was said on the other end, but he abruptly stood up. He looked at me hesitantly. Something happened to Chloe. I need to go see her. I shrugged, utterly unconcerned. He quietly picked up the divorce agreement from the table. I know pregnant women can be moody. I promise I'll spend more time with you from now on. Don't joke about divorce like this. After he spoke, he leaned in to kiss me, but I dodged him. Ethan froze in place. I said indifferently, come to City Hospital's obstetrics and gynecology department. Don't be late at 9 in the morning. Ethan was the biological father of the child. He had the right to say goodbye to the baby. I watched with indifference as Ethan's expression shifted from sullen to cheerful. He grinned. No problem. I'll definitely be there to accompany you to your prenatal checkup. I didn't reply, casually deleting all his contact information, but never came. He stood me up. Mai and Eleanor and Brooke accompanied me to the hospital. They watched me as I went into the operating room. I saw Eleanor secretly wiping away her tears, so I comforted her a few times. This child and I weren't meant to be. 3 months is fine. It won't have to suffer with me. The operating lights in the hospital stung my eyes, bringing tears. The anesthetic slowly seeped into my arm, and then I lost consciousness. I woke up again in the hospital room. Henry and Eleanor were by my side. Seeing me wake up, they hurriedly helped me adjust the bed. Eleanor asked, "Grace, does it hurt a lot?" I shook my head. I had anesthesia. "It doesn't hurt." Eleanor hesitated to speak. Henry, usually a good-natured, easygoing person, was unusually angry today. "I've already had Brooke find you the best lawyer. Well, go get that divorce." I nodded. Okay. The last time I mentioned divorcing Ethan to my family, they fully supported me. My body felt much better, so I got up and walked around as the doctor advised. Henry and Eleanor were still worried about me, but it was also time to eat. "Brooke went to pay your fees. I told her to come back quickly." I obediently nodded and watched them leave, then slowly moved around in the hallway. But unexpectedly, I ran into Ethan and Chloe. Chloe was wearing a hospital gown, with a bandage wrapped around her arm. They both froze when they saw me. After a moment, Ethan said guiltily, "What a coincidence. Grace, how are your test results?" I replied dismissively, "They're fine." After saying that, I turned to leave, but grabbed my arm. "What kind of attitude is that? I'm the baby's father, your husband." I looked at him coldly. "Do you even deserve to be its father? How much time did you spend with it these past few months? And even when I decided to terminate the pregnancy, you were still with your buddy." Ethan took a deep breath. He looked at Chloe. "Chloe just happened to run into a thief that day and was pushed and injured. I thought your Henry and Eleanor would come, a conveniently timed injury. And it only affected her arm, Ethan. Next time in court, I hope you won't be late." He froze, staring at me in disbelief. "What do you mean?" "It means she's divorcing you." Brooke, who had just finished paying the fees, rushed over. She glared at Ethan's hand, which was supporting Chloe, looking like she wanted to slap him. I reached out and held her hand. Brooke helped me, wanting to go back, but Ethan released Chloe and tried to follow us. Chloe almost fell from Ethan's abrupt movement, and couldn't help but gasp. But this time, Ethan ignored her. He left Chloe clumsily sitting on the ground. He quickly caught up to us, grabbing me tightly and threatening. "Grace, you don't want this child to grow up without a complete family, do you? If we get a divorce, I will fight for custody of this child, and you'll never see the baby again." Slap! Brooke couldn't hold back anymore. She forcefully threw the report at Ethan's face, yelling, "This child is already gone." Ethan was stunned by the report hitting him full in the face. He reached down to pick up the papers on the ground, his gaze fixed on the abortion report. Ethan's eyes were bloodshot. He looked at me, a look of utter disbelief on his face. "Why? Why did you terminate it? How could you do that without telling me?" "Grace, I never thought you'd be such a heartless woman." Slap. I slapped him hard. I hit him with extreme force, sending his face sideways, and it quickly swelled and reddened. Ethan raised his hand to hit me back, but Brooke was faster. Brooke is 5 feet 9 inches tall, and having regularly practiced Thai boxing, she wasn't much shorter than Ethan. Before could react, Brooke forcibly shoved him down. He fell heavily to the ground. His once neat suit was now disheveled, and his glasses fell to the ground. Brooke looked down at Ethan. "Ethan, I've had it with you for a long time. My sister didn't marry you to be bullied like this." Brooke bent down, grabbed Ethan's collar, and half lifted him. Ethan struggled clumsily. let go. I'm telling you, if you dare hit me, I'll call the police. He was completely dominated by Brooke. Looking utterly helpless, Chloe, from the side, tried to approach several times. But one look at Brooke's expression made her freeze. Brooke scoffed. Your best buddy doesn't seem to care as much as you think, does she? Before, when you had that car accident, my sister nearly lost her life saving you. Brooke was talking about something that happened 3 years ago. At that time, our car lost control and crashed into the side of the road. The situation was critical. The impact on the passenger seat was less severe, and I was quickly rescued, but was pinned between the steering wheel and the seat, having lost consciousness. The car was already on fire, and passers-by, fearing an explosion, tried to pull me away. At that moment, I found an unprecedented surge of strength and dragged Ethan out. My arm was cut by glass, leaving a deep scar. Ethan was casually tossed down by Brooke. His face was pale, and he clearly understood what Brooke was referring to. His gaze fell on Chloe, who was standing nearby. A dark look in his eyes. Then he looked at me. I know I was overly concerned with Chloe and neglected you, but I'm the baby's father. How could you terminate it without consulting me at all? I've waited so long for this baby. I even picked out names. If it was a boy, Ethan, you say I didn't tell you anything, but when did you ever come to my prenatal checkups? Perhaps it was the loss of our only bond. Perhaps it was too many disappointments. My heart had already turned to stone. At this moment, my feelings were incredibly calm. I looked at Ethan with indifference. During my last prenatal checkup, the doctor told me the baby was malformed and asked me if I wanted to keep or terminate the pregnancy. I called you a dozen times, Ethan. Do you remember what you were doing that day? Ethan froze. You said you were in a meeting, but in reality, you were staying up for nights playing video games with Chloe. You said you'd come pick me up, but then you ran off to cook for Chloe, leaving me to wait alone until midnight. Even strangers saw me and cared enough to ask if I needed help. What about you? Ethan's lips trembled. He whispered, You didn't tell me later either. You can't just because of that. I said, I didn't tell you because there was no need. Ethan, remember, I didn't terminate this pregnancy out of hatred for you. At 3 months, it wasn't conscious yet. I didn't want it to suffer later. If this child had been healthy, I was confident I could raise it well even without Ethan. It was my flesh and blood, an extension of myself, and I would have taken good care of it, but it had a high probability of not being a healthy child. What right did I have to bring it into this world only for it to suffer? Ethan heard this and tried to crawl toward me, but seeing Brooke in front of me, he flinched. He said urgently, It's okay, Grace. We can still have another healthy baby. I'll treat you well from now on. I'll accompany you to every prenatal checkup and do prenatal education for the baby. He shouldn't have said anything. Just hearing it made me feel utterly disgusted. Ethan, remember to prepare the divorce agreement. He stood there, stunned. At this moment, Chloe finally saw her chance. She ran over, trying to help Ethan up, continuously comforting him. It's okay, Ethan. She's just speaking out of anger. Besides, you still have me. Your good buddy will be there for you. Ethan abruptly pulled Chloe's hand off him. He roared, Shut up. Can you just stop making things worse? You're the reason Grace and I are at this point. Can you stop pretending to be my buddy while also trying to seduce me? Chloe's expression turned to shock. In an instant, the eyes of all the onlookers focused on her. Many people whispered, No way, she's pregnant. And she's still trying to seduce someone else's husband. How shameless is that? The guy admitted it, so it must be true. She looks like a vixen. I think the guy's no good either. If he didn't have thoughts, who could seduce him? There were many mothers-in-law accompanying their daughters-in-law for checkups at City Hospital's obstetrics and gynecology department. These women were sharp-tongued and fiercely righteous, and their comments grew increasingly harsh. Chloe and Ethan's faces flushed crimson from what was being said. Seeing that someone had already started recording on their phone, Ethan got up, covered his face, and left without hesitation, leaving Chloe stunned. Holy crap. Grace, are you okay? That despicable jerk. How dare he treat you like that? They deserve to be slammed by netizens. Grace, don't go too far. Chloe just sees Ethan as a buddy. You posted her online just because you're jealous. Don't be ridiculous. I woke up to my phone crammed with messages. Some were from friends and close girlfriends, showing concern and expressing disdainful insults toward Ethan. The other part was Ethan's friends defending Chloe, accusing me of exposing them online. I found it amusing and blocked all of them. In the evening, however, an unwelcome guest arrived at my hospital room. Eleanor looked at Chloe outside the room with some wariness. Her face was pale, with dark circles under her eyes, as if she hadn't slept all night. Accompanying her was another one of Ethan's friends. They often hung out together. I knew his name was Ryan. She asked, "Can I come in?" Eleanor glanced at me. I said with a stern face, "Ms. Grace, you're not welcome here." She swayed, and tears instantly welled up. "I just wanted to apologize to you." Ryan saw Chloe crying and immediately looked displeased. "You've made Chloe's life miserable. What else do you want? Do you know the video from that day was posted online, and everyone's slamming Chloe? Even her office supervisor is making her undergo an investigation, and someone sent funeral wreaths to her house." I had never expected this matter to escalate and result in Chloe being cyberbullied, but I didn't soften because of it at all. I retorted, "Did I post the video? Did I force her to cling to Ethan, a married man? It's truly laughable. On what grounds are you accusing me, the victim?" Ryan was left speechless. He glanced at Chloe, who had started wiping away her tears. "But you can't just let Chloe be cyberbullied, can you? Just do it for good karma for your baby. Clarify to the netizens that she's not that kind of person." I looked at them coldly. "Chloe, if you feel the video is affecting your life, you can directly contact the person who posted it to have it removed, or you can clarify the situation to the netizens yourself. But I will not make any statements." Chloe was instantly stunned. Right. In the eyes of Ethan's friends and Chloe, I had always been a pushover, easy to talk to. Normally, no matter what requests they made, I would indulge them. I wanted to give Ethan some dignity. I wanted to be his dutiful wife, but when I finally came to my senses, free from the haze of hormones, those indulgences seemed utterly ridiculous to me. I slightly raised my chin. "Chloe, you know perfectly well if you were trying to seduce Ethan or not. Don't play the victim with me. It'll only make your life worse." Chloe's face was pale. She and Ryan hadn't left yet when new visitors arrived. I glanced at Ethan, who was carrying a fruit basket and a bouquet of white lilies, and felt intensely annoyed. Ethan paused when he saw Chloe and Ryan standing at the door. Then he asked with an unpleasant expression, "What are you doing here?" Chloe's eyes were red from crying. This time, she didn't impulsively reach out to grab Ethan. She said pitifully, "Ethan, those busybodies posted yesterday's video online." Ethan froze. "So that's why those people on the street." He regained his composure and said, "You came to ask Grace to clarify." I didn't know what Ethan was trying to do, but I felt like he had completely lost his mind. Outside the door, he kept talking. "Don't worry. I won't hurt you. I just want to see you one last time." I hardened my heart and ignored him, clutching the kitchen knife tightly in my hand. Not making a sound, after a long pause, Ethan said, "Grace, I regretted deeply. How I wish I hadn't believed Chloe's so-called wife training rules from the start. After the divorce, I realized how much I liked you. Don't worry. I won't bother you anymore. And won't have the chance either." An absurd thought popped into my mind, and it made me even more terrified. He just stood there outside the door, his quiet pleas gradually growing louder, until he eventually started frantically throwing things at the door. I stood silently behind the door, focusing intently on what was happening outside, until urgent footsteps, sharp shouts, and Ethan's wailing could be heard from outside. I heard my sister's voice. "Grace." I immediately let out a sigh of relief later. I found out that Chloe had died. She died from excessive blood loss. The first time she attacked Ethan, she left him permanently impotent. Yet she laughed and said, "This is perfect. Now you'll be mine forever." Ethan, don't be scared. We still have a child. But the good times didn't last. Her prenatal checkup revealed a problem. The child had Zai syndrome. A born criminal, the doctor advised her to terminate the pregnancy, but insisted on keeping the child, no matter what. She said it was her only hope and asked Ethan to support her, because Ethan would have this one child and no other. Ethan, however, thought she was completely insane. How could he possibly keep a child with Zai syndrome? So he secretly gave Chloe abortion pills, but he never expected her to suffer a massive hemorrhage. In her panic, Chloe slipped and hit the back of her head. By the time Ethan came to his senses, she had already stopped breathing. He fled in a panic and came looking for me. After listening to my sister's explanation, I let out a long sigh. My sister looked at me, seeming to hesitate, as if she had more to say. I asked, What's wrong? Is there something else? My sister smiled. Nothing. He won't be coming to bother you anymore anyway. Let's go on a trip with Mom and Dad sometime soon. I looked at the morning sun outside the window and smiled. Sounds good. I knew my future, like the morning sun, would break through the gloom and be filled with hope. I didn't know what Ethan was trying to do, but I felt like he had completely lost his mind. Outside the door, he kept talking. Don't worry. I won't hurt you. I just want to see you one last time. I hardened my heart and ignored him, clutching the kitchen knife tightly in my hand. Not making a sound, after a long pause, Ethan said, Grace, I regretted deeply. How I wish I hadn't believed Chloe's so-called wife training rules from the start. After the divorce, I realized how much I liked you. Don't worry. I won't bother you anymore. And won't have the chance either. An absurd thought popped into my mind, and it made me even more terrified. He just stood there outside the door, his quiet pleas gradually growing louder, until he eventually started frantically throwing things at the door. I stood silently behind the door, focusing intently on what was happening outside, until urgent footsteps, sharp shouts, and Ethan's wailing could be heard from outside. I heard my sister's voice. Grace. I immediately let out a sigh of relief later. I found out that Chloe had died. She died from excessive blood loss. The first time she attacked Ethan, she left him permanently impotent. Yet she laughed and said, This is perfect. Now you'll be mine forever. Ethan. Don't be scared. We still have a child. But the good times didn't last. Her prenatal checkup revealed a problem. The child had Zai syndrome. A born criminal. The doctor advised her to terminate the pregnancy, but insisted on keeping the child, no matter what. She said it was her only hope and asked Ethan to support her, because Ethan would have this one child and no other. Ethan, however, thought she was completely insane. How could he possibly keep a child with Zai syndrome? So he secretly gave Chloe abortion pills, but he never expected her to suffer a massive hemorrhage. In her panic, Chloe slipped and hit the back of her head. By the time Ethan came to his senses, she had already stopped breathing. He fled in a panic and came looking for me. After listening to my sister's explanation, I let out a long sigh. My sister looked at me, seeming to hesitate, as if she had more to say. I asked, What's wrong? Is there something else? My sister smiled. Nothing. He won't be coming to bother you anymore anyway. Let's go on a trip with Mom and Dad sometime soon. I looked at the morning sun outside the window and smiled. Sounds good. I knew my future, like the morning sun, would break through the gloom and be filled with hope.